Hello everyone out there. On the table today we are taking a look at the Kershaw Whirlwind. And not only will we be looking at these knives, but I'm going to try to go a bit in depth because these knives by Kershaw have been around for over 20 years and have been in active production almost that long. So actually we have a lot of ground to cover on this one model of knife alone. So if you're interested or have been interested in Kershaws of the last 15 to 20 years, this could be of interest to you. Now, please bear with me. Of course, I did my best to research everything in this video, but until Kershaw releases a history book, I believe everything that I'm about to cover is as accurate as anyone outside of the company can really say. So in this video, we are going to see 4 versions of this knife, an early variant of the Whirlwind, a few different varieties of this knife that were also released, as well as the last and latest production run that you can still get a hold of, new in box, as of the filming of this video in early 2021. I'll add some timestamps and chapter markers so you can skip around to find the information you want, or hopefully you can just sit back, join me, and let's check out the Kershaw Whirlwind. This first one in front of us is an example of the first variant of the Whirlwind that arrived back on the market in 1999. We can see that the Whirlwind has black polymer handles. Handles are very rounded off, make the knife easy to hold. There's some texturing on the handles that'll help with grip. Although not nearly as grippy or rough as G10 would be, the pocket clip is one position only, and that happens to be tip down right hand side carry. That's not really surprising given the vintage of this knife design. The pocket clip on many of these knives still have the older style Kershaw logo and the patent information on them. I have several other Kershaw knives of this time period, all from around, the mid-2000s era, that also use this same style of pocket clip. So let me quickly show you a few examples of these also, and we can just take a quick look. So here we have the Kershaw Boa. And we also can take a quick look at the Kershaw Avalanche. But back to the Whirlwind. Taking a look at the blade of the knife, we can see that most variants of the Whirlwind were designed with the SpeedSafe assisted opening feature. And back in 1999, when this was released, SpeedSafe was considered a relatively new whiz-bang feature. So while in current times some knife fans will groan when they see a knife that is assisted, this wasn't an issue for the Whirlwind back when it was introduced. Even now, though, I am really impressed with the assisted action on this knife, as it's very snappy. I've noticed on some of my other older SpeedSafe Kershaws, my SpeedSafe knives from around this time period or newer even, sometimes they tend to get very sluggish on the opening action after so many years. But the Whirlwind doesn't really seem to be affected by this. Nice, strong, snappy action. We can see from the text on the blade that this knife is a Ken Onion design, and he was absolutely prolific as a Kershaw designer around this time period. Honestly, we could talk about and go on and on about how influential Ken Onion has been to the production knife world, and I could make a whole video on that alone. But for now, we can certainly say he was the brainchild of some of Kershaw's, best stuff. And as for the blade of this knife, it's 3 1/4 inches. And these early runs of the knife were made out of a 440A steel. And so this blade steel is, of course, in no way high-end, but the low price is what led to the choice of this steel. Later on, the 440A would be phased out, and we would see that change in some of the later models of the Whirlwind I have on the table for you. We have absolutely no blade play with this knife, rock solid. And I will mention that all the knives here on the table have good lockup, good centering, no issues. They all weigh in at about 3 1/2 ounces. A little variance here and there between the models, but all about 3 1/2 ounces. The handle is completely enclosed, so definitely not a flow-through design. And I will mention that if you purchase one of these knives used, be sure to check for grime and other buildup in the handles because it does tend to collect inside there. This solid design, though, does lend strength to the handles. And that's a desirable feature for, a knife that's meant to be a hard user. This particular example of the Whirlwind has a production date of March 2003. So when you open up the blade, we can see that marked near the detent, near the lock face, we can see the date stamp. And up until 2009, Kershaw put these date stamps on all of their US production knives. So you'll know your Kershaw is a post-2009 model if you do not see this date marked on your knife. So while the Whirlwind here was really the base model, another variant of the knife with green scales was also released. And so this model was known as the Blizzard. The knives are nearly identical to one another, except for really two features only. The most obvious difference is the green glass-filled nylon handle, and the other difference being that the Blizzard was originally a non-assisted knife. So a Whirlwind minus the speed safe. And it came in at a slightly less expensive price for that reason. The suggested retail for these knives, when they were first released, was around the $80 mark. So they would cost less than that, but $80 manufacturer's suggested price. And even this particular model of Blizzard I have is different still, as this version came from what is possibly the Blizzard's last production run. When I open up the blade, you can see the date on this blade is from October 2008. This particular run of the Blizzard was an exclusive to Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and this version has two further differences from the standard Blizzard. The blade steel here was changed from the original 440A. This one has a Sandvik 13C26 steel. The pocket clip, same as the Whirlwind, same thumb studs, same decorative holes in the blade, and again, besides from those two changes, nearly identical. Also a concurrent release with the Whirlwind and the Blizzard, we have the Kershaw Blackout. This variant of the knife actually won an award at Bladeshow 1999. It won the Best Buy of the Year. These knives also started out in 440A before eventually transitioning along with the rest of the Whirlwinds into a Sandvik 14C 28N blade steel. Only difference between the Blackout and the standard Whirlwinds comes in the blade. The blade does not have the decorative holes, and of course, given the knife's name, Blackout, it has a black coated blade. The blade here has a DLC coating, which has increased the price over the standard Whirlwind by a little bit. But Kershaw's DLC coating is super durable, in my opinion, very worth the price premium if you want a black coated blade. This particular example of the Blackout is a post-2009 model due to the fact there are no dates on the blade, and so this way I know this particular knife has a 14C 28N blade, and if you look closely on the text on the blade, you can faintly see several X marks over the lettering, which marks this knife as a Kershaw factory second. And if you are familiar with factory seconds, or blems as they call them, it's often impossible to even tell why they were marked as a second, as I cannot find any flaws with the knife overall. It has the same strong assist as the Whirlwind, good lockup, good centering. So on that note, if a knife you want is only available to you as a second, you probably won't be disappointed. Talking about blems actually lets me segue into the newest Whirlwind I have on the table, as both my Blackout here and the new Whirlwind were purchased from the same source, and that is Kershawguy. So Kershawguy is a great online knife dealer. He focuses mostly on Kershaw knives, given his name, and he's also one of the only dealers that I see that routinely stocks Kershaw factory blems. Great deals there. And it was through a regular marketing email from him that I saw my newest Whirlwind here, which runs under the model name 1560 MOD. And so what intrigued me about this model of Whirlwind was that it was shared that this knife was a special run that was originally meant for the Japanese market. And interesting about that, since Kershaw's parent company Kai is based out of Japan. But either way, this new production Whirlwind was left without the speed safe mechanism. And so the rest of my Whirlwinds are assisted, and I wanted to compare the actions and see how it functions. So taking a look at this newer Whirlwind, I do like the smooth unassisted action. Really, it's just as nice as the other variants of the blade here on the table. Only thing I would nitpick if I really had to is that the detent of this knife, I can tell it was clearly tuned to be a speed safe knife. On an assisted Whirlwind, the spring keeps the blade in the handle no problem, never an issue. On this version, I would say the knife can easily be gravity dropped or reverse deployed, however you want to word it. And that may be a positive or a negative based on your needs, of the knife. And since this pocket clip of the knife is still only single position, tip down, I would be concerned with the blade kind of wandering out of the handle while it's in your pocket, depending on what you're doing. And again, I think I'm really overthinking this, and I always jump to the worst possible outcome. But these are the little things that I notice when I'm handling these knives. As you can see, when it comes to the blade, though, we do have the newer Kershaw logo. So Kershaw did change their logo back in 2014 from the stylized font with that wacky W and K to a more bold style impact looking font. I do prefer the older logo, but in a way introducing a new logo is a good thing, as it can help you narrow down dates as to when a particular knife was produced. So on the blade is the new logo, and we can see on the back side on the pocket clip, the new logo is present and the patent information is now missing. But when we look here at the plastic handles, interesting enough, the vintage logo is still present. And I suppose it makes sense. They would not remake the molds for the handles or anything just because of a logo change. And so that's kind of a testament to the staying power of this knife. The Whirlwind has been around since 1999, and it's been considered a production Kershaw model until it was discontinued in 2017. And so that's an 18-year lifespan. Not bad at all in this industry. Some companies will often opt to discontinue a poor-selling knife not long after its release. So what we have in this newer Whirlwind is possibly one of the last ones ever produced by Kershaw. And thanks to Kershawguy, we can still buy them new in box. But that being said, once they're gone, they're gone. Thankfully, though, since this knife was so prolific over the years, you can always still buy one of them on the secondary market, and the used market for these knives is actually very strong. So of course, I'll leave a link below if you're interested in picking up one of these Whirlwinds. If you managed to make it this long, then thank you. I appreciate it. I really enjoy collecting Kershaws from this time period, as there are so many different runs and different variants of the knife to try and collect. I'm glad to add one more knife to my USA-made Kershaw collection. And I also want to give credit for the information in this video. It primarily came from the Blade Forums archives. So Blade Forums is a great research site, essentially, because they've been an active knife community for over 20 years. And there's so much information available if you just bother to search for it. But that being said, if you have any questions or comments about these knives or anything in the video, feel free to leave a comment below. I would appreciate hearing from all of you. But have a great day, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.